Welcome to Two Arabs and a Podcast, a show with no limits, dating, business, martial arts, self-defense, and the life of two Arabs in America. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, the owner of Warrior Academy, the son of an immigrant, international traveler who is fluent in 4 languages, black rank in Krav Maga, a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and Brazil's national champion. And of course, 2018 Self-Defense Instructor of the Year, a bodyguard and military combative instructors, none other than Fraz Azar. Joined by his co-host, Omar Aswan, the owner of Warrior Tactical Training, published author, Doctor of Criminology, world traveler, fluent in 4 languages, a military combat contractor, and a first-generation immigrant. The show begins now.
Welcome to another podcast of Two Arabs and a Podcast. I'm Omar Aswad, joined today with Firas. Firas, how's it going today?
Great, man. How you been?
Good. A lot of changes in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, it kept us a little bit busy. And sorry, folks. I know every time we say we're coming back, we're not coming back. But do blame your liberal officials that keep messing up with our businesses and stuff. But we are here and we're going to be doing our best. Ever since we opened up the business and moved up our studio to where we at right now, it's just been a little bit ups and downs. But it's been on the clear, so we are fine. And by the way, I just want to make the record straight before a lot of people get triggered. We are a show that triggers a lot of people on every end because basically we don't give a shit. Lately, some people that follow us on social media have a little bit been surprised. Some people said there's a shift of attitude in us, and I think it's from our fellow Democrats.
It is.
Yeah, they're kind of shocked. They say, what's wrong with you guys? And did you turn with Trump? I'm like, I don't know what is the story about turning or not. But the thing is, we always claimed we look at both sides as morons and we're independent and we vote who we want. But what actually bothers me, and I know I'm just shooting really fast right now because I want to clear this out. The weird assumption that people see us being Arab Americans, that we are automatic with the Democratic Party.
It is a weird assumption.
Yes.
Here's the thing. You said it perfectly. We're independent. We're not with one side. We're not like, oh, I vote Republican every single time. I don't vote Democrat every single time. We vote based on best interest at the specific time, exactly, and for the best person who's executing our best interest. So that changes. That shifts. A lot of Arabs voted for Obama in 2000 in the elections. Oh, yeah. Now a lot of the same Arabs are voting for Trump.
Yep.
So they're not exactly shifting party lines because they were never party hardened, that they're all 100% Republican. No, they're independent that vote based on...
Actually, I think the Arab Americans have voted on both Obama's election, hasn't it?
They have, yeah.
Yeah, I think
so they're very pro-Obama.
Yeah.
But in the Trump elections, they voted very pro-Trump. And I just got back from Detroit, actually. And it was surprising to see a biggest Arab community in the United States.
Pictures. I was shocked.
And a lot of Trump flags, a lot of Trump support, a lot of Arab Americans are leaning towards electing Trump in 2020. And it's not because, again, they're Republican. It's because he executed best interest for the community specifically. And he has actually been very involved in the Arab community. He just hired or not elected, but he put in place an Iraqi judge, a female judge, for the first female Iraqi judge on a federal level. No, it's not covered.
Zero mention.
And he's been very responding to Arab needs. So, for example, when he came in, he started deporting a lot of the Arabs in the United States who have criminal records. And he met up with the Arab community, and they were like, hey, man, you can't do that because a lot of these guys are going back to countries like Iraq. They will get killed. And he actually put a hold on all deportation. So he's very responsive to the community and community needs of the people who are voting for him or the American citizens in general. So he was very responsive in terms of that. He just didn't make a policy and just went through with it. But the media didn't cover that he met up with the Arab community and actually saw that, hey, this policy might not exactly work for the Arabs. And he put in place a hold for all deportation from specific countries like Iraq and Syria. Yeah. So now you can't get deported
because
if you're from these countries.
Because a lot of us have our records from coming from those countries because people don't understand. And this is going to be a big topic we're covering about this episode because our episode basically is talking about the biggest change in history is the Middle East piece. But before we get that, a lot of it come from records because we came from countries of oppression. So in their eyes, if we spoke against things, we're automatic criminals.
Exactly.
And if you guys know anything about the fucking law of immigration, which 98% of this country doesn't know shit. And I'm a little bit heated because the past, literally since this stupid pandemic, there's one party showed its ass. and and the people of it, and it is the Democratic side. And I'm gonna say this, and I don't care if they get mad or any of our fans. I'm sorry to tell you the truth, but the truth is. And the problem is with you people, and I'll say you people, you're very one-sided and don't sit and see the other sides. And I like when they claim they're the party against oppression, they're the party against racism, they're the party. But literally, I remember, and I kept repeating this, we will never forget what this country has done to us post 9/11.
Exactly.
And let me be honest with you, Ahmed. Did we see any outcries or justice to stand for us, Arab Americans, during that time? Or when they threw us and they busted our homes and treated us all like terrorists?
No, not at all. Mm-hmm. You don't see that a lot. Other Arab communities, not exactly. It's been very oppressed in the United States since 9/11. And obviously 9/11 doesn't represent the millions of Arab that live in the United States.
Yes.
Not all Arabs are Muslims, by the way, and not all Muslims are terrorists. So you judge basically an entire population of people based on religion, based on certain 6 people or 7 people, and you judge an entire religion, entire country, entire people that live here. These are your neighbors. These are not terrorists and Al-Qaeda that just joined yesterday. They're literally your neighbors, your gas station owners, your gym owners, your working for different companies. They're literally living in your communities, and you're judging them based on actions of 6, 7 people. Obviously, that's false, and you can't do that. But I think the peace in the Middle East is time shifting, honestly.
This is, there's a lot of people like us knew this was happening. Of course, here it came to a shock, and they were like, huh? And they don't know, because they're so detached. They're all focused on COVID, because, that's supposed to be killing us right now. So anyway, are we putting our mask while we're doing this?
Yeah, we have a mask right now, by the way, guys.
So we got this filter on our mic. And before, Mayor Lucas come on, that's King Lucas. that needs a whole episode. By the way, before we go, he didn't respond to our invite.
No, I invited him multiple times to come on the podcast and defend himself.
Yeah.
And I made it very clear we're minority business owners in Kansas City, and we would love to have him and share his views with us.
Yeah.
And he
blocked you on Instagram.
He blocked me on Instagram, and that's going on a legal case right now. But beside that, he basically rejected the invite and said, I'm good.
So on to the mission we're on. So this, when I say we knew about it, and big credits has to be given first. Prince MBS, Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, has been very aggressive and vocal about changing the atmosphere of the Gulf and the Middle East. And a lot of people don't understand in this country. I got to explain to you some things so you guys understand. First of all, people call us Middle Easterners like it's a continent. We are in the continent of Asia. So if we're going to say we're Asians, and like, what? Because, they think Asians, everybody with eyes different and skin color. You know how that here. So to look at the Middle East region, the Gulf is basically what you got. United Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar. Of course, we got Iran. We don't claim it, unfortunately. And who else we got in the
Iraq,
of course, the bigger one.
Kuwait, I think you said that.
So anyway, MBS was very determined in helping this situation. And as a matter of fact, when he made an announcement, he's like, what have Israel done to any Arab country other than Palestine? Let's speak facts, because we got the freedom fighters here, the social justice warriors that have known nothing about in history. And
so let's go back slightly.
Okay.
Let's go back and kind of set the story. So how the conflict started in 1948 when Israel was established as a country.
Yeah.
A lot of the new modern Arabs have a conflict that, hey, the borders was drawn by the British.
Yes.
But if you go slightly back further, actually 90% of the Arab countries, including Iraq, their borders was drawn by the British in Sykes-Picot Treaty.
Isn't that like half of the world?
Yeah. So Sykes-Picot Treaty, basically the British and the French sat around and drew maps of the entire Middle East. So they did that in the 1920s, and 20 years later, they decided to draw the map for Israel.
Yeah.
So it's really, if you have a problem with them drawing the map in 1948, then why don't you have a problem with them drawing the map in 1920s for Iraq? Mm-hmm. Then Iraq map is wrong then. Or, Kuwait's map is wrong.
India and Kashmir?
Or India, or all these countries.
And Pakistan, all those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the map was drawn by the same people who did it in the 1920s, but majority of people don't have problems with the current maps of the other Arab countries, but they have a problem with Israel. And the conflict started, a lot of Arab countries kind of joined the hype in terms of conflict that didn't really involve them per se, but they took it as, hey, we have a nationalist conflict and took it declaring war against Israel, and a lot of countries don't recognize Israel, don't have issues with Israel, give back more history. A lot of the Arab leadership that came in the time, like Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Mubarak in Egypt, and a lot of these leaders are nationalist. So by default, they were not Islamists.
Well, even the founder of Saudi Arabia, King Abdulaziz,
exactly.
the first thing he did was announce about that.
Exactly. So they're very nationalistic leaders. They're not exactly religious, by the way, the furthest thing away from religion, but they were very nationalistic. And due to their nationalistic, they took it upon themselves to kind of declare war on Israel. Time is changing where Saudi Arabia is speaking up and saying,
hey. Something also, because this is what bothers me personally. By the way, to the crowd, so you understand, I come from a Jewish background. How is that? My father's Saudi Arabian, and but my grandmother from my mom's side is Jewish. She's a Yugoslavian originally. That her family immigrated to Austria, and of course, when the Holocaust started, my grandma is a Holocaust survivor. So I have a foot in both sides here. And I'm going to get to that before we jump, because I told you about this dumbass hipster called me Nazi.
Yeah.
Because I didn't agree with Antifa. And I was like, do you understand that my grandma is Jew?
No, that's a title.
So we'll get to that. So the problem is here where we're trying to also introduce. So I agree with you about the nationalism, but you see the game they play, they snuck the religion in. So for some reason, the Islamic religion switched that if you deal with the Jews, it is against a religion, which is false, because I will go to the founder of the religion, the Prophet himself, Muhammad, peace be upon him. What he said, and this was, I got suspended, by the way, for school for this question. I'm going to tell you this, you're going to laugh. When I was in Saudi Arabia, and what's funny, it was a Palestinian religious teacher. See the smile on your face. Because we got to explain to the crowd why we have issues with Palestine. Not all Palestinians are bad, so don't get triggered right here. But I'll explain to you the fanaticism from some of their crowd. So we were in a religious class, and he was going against that the end of time will come, and if we're in a fight, the tree will tell the Muslim, there's a Jew here hiding. And I'm like, I looked at him. First of all, I got troubled because my grandma's a Jew. So that bothered me personally.
What kind of bullshit is that?
I know. The tree's going to talk to us, by the way. I'm just going to say, there's a Jew here. Come get him.
The fuck?
So I looked at him. I was like, teacher, Ustaz. And I raised my hand up. We say Ustaz in Arabic. So we're trying to educate our crowd here to speak a little bit Arabic. I hope so, because that's the future for you guys. So anyway, I said, didn't the Prophet Muhammad said, when you travel, seek two certain people? And he just stared at me. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, didn't he say, eat with the Jew because they eat kosher? And find shelter at a Christian home because they pray at night. And he said, yeah, that's correct. So I was like, how am I going to eat with the Jew and kill him? I got suspended and kicked out.
Turns out from a nationalistic point, and it turned out to religious. It turned out to a very religious mission that basically took Islam and said it's a Muslim's duty to basically not recognize Israel and fight against Israel. Yeah. And to the point that countries that had a slight problem with religion taking over. Like Iraq, for example, Saddam was very nationalistic.
He was, yeah.
And he was very supportive of Palestine. Yep. But in the same time, he took kind of offense to religion taking over in the 80s. And actually, they start fucking with Iraqi officials. They tried to assassinate my dad, by the way. The Palestinians, Hamas. They sent a guy to blow up the embassy. And he had cold feet and didn't do it, luckily. But they start killing Iraqi officials because Iraq had a problem.
My dad during that time also in Saudi, he was a writer, and we didn't have emails. We had fax. So his office fax will beep because he was a writer and he would write against this. Yeah. And he was always writing as a Saudi nationalist, but he's standing against this bullshit. And dude, it's crazy to be a 9-year-old and I get a fax from these terrorists, by the way. We lived with them. We've been around them before they came here and blew up 9/11. We went through this because a lot of people, they think these terrorists didn't kill their own kind.
No,
they were killing us more than they killed Westerners.
Yeah.
And me as a kid pulling the facts, reading in details what they're going to do to my dad. And Umar, I will tell you, you know how horrific it is? They were talking about raping my mom in front of him. These are Muslims, by the way, because of his saying that what Palestinians are doing is wrong. And we have to recognize Israel back then.
Conflict took a shift. A lot of Americans don't realize terrorism affected Arabs more than it affected Americans. More Arabs have been killed, more Muslims have been killed by Al-Qaeda and ISIS than foreigners. Al-Qaeda have done terrible things all over the world. And so other.
And then you have the Mujahideen.
Yeah, you have the Hassan Nasrallah's group in Lebanon. Yeah. He has killed more Lebanese people than Israelis. Yeah, and then you have Hamas.
Part, yes.
Hamas, by the way, have killed more Palestinians than Israelis.
Yes.
The founder of Hamas, Mus'ab Sheikh Hassan Yusuf, his son is in America. And he himself said he was born into Hamas. His dad is the founder of Hamas. He said, we meaning Hamas, have killed more Palestinians than actual Israelis. And he said that himself. So it shows you that the conflict, and now it's at times shifting because 60, 70-year-old conflict, all of a sudden you have Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and others having open relationships with Israel, recognizing it and saying, hold on a second, why the fuck do we have a problem in the first place? What we don't have a problem.
No, we don't. I mean, and a lot of people don't understand, we are so similar. We are all Middle Easterners.
Exactly.
I mean, you've met my best friend Sam.
Exactly. Yesterday I was talking to a person, and he kept arguing that Israel, Palestine belongs.
Is that in your face or social media?
No, social media, of course. He said, of course, that region belongs to the Arabs. And I said, yeah, I agree 100% belongs to Arabs. But the Jews are Arabs. Our original Jews, the founder Jews were Arabs. Moses was Arab. All these prophets.
Judaism was before Islam.
Exactly. And it was Arab. They were in that region to begin with.
Yeah.
So they were not, French and they came here and lived. No, the original Jews were Arabs. So by default, when you say, yeah, this land belongs to Arabs, yeah, it belongs to Arabs, but Jewish Arabs, not Muslim Arabs.
See, what bothers me personally with this rhetoric, how it doesn't make sense. Aren't we supposed to respect all prophets?
Exactly.
Okay, so Moses, what is Moses? Musa, alayhi salam.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it?
He's Arab.
Okay, but isn't he the father of Judaism?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so how you want to kill Jews and this is basically they are his kids?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at it, these are his people. It's crazy. But anyway, let's not get excited because we're kind of wired up today with all the coffee.
Exactly.
And it's been a minute. So guys, this is really an amazing big deal. You do not understand how we are so happy for this is the biggest peace deal that will bring Amman a lot of great things. And this is a beginning of a prosperous Middle East. MBS himself said 2030. He keeps repeating that number. And I'm telling you guys, remember this. 2030, the Middle East is going to be the rise of everything. And everybody back in the day, 10 years ago, learn Chinese because business? No, I would say learn Arabic now. This is important. And even Hebrew. With this now.
No, exactly.
My brother told me because Ryan, he's opening another restaurant down there. And he's down there in Dubai. He said now they have they're opening people say shalom when they meet you, and there's celebration, there's billboards, there's commercials in Arabic telling people come to Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
And they are excited. I mean, I've never seen such joy and happiness.
It's over by now. The people realize it's not really exactly a conflict. The conflict has been gone for way, way too long.
Yes, a lot of bloodshed.
And a lot of bloodshed on both sides. People are asking, why can't you have coexistence? And then you see things like Hamas, for example, representative of part of the Palestinian people. And they're talking about, we don't want to coexist. We want to throw the Jews in the Red Sea and take over the entire country. Very fanatic Islamist group, by the way. And they kind of follow the footsteps of Iran and Hezbollah. So you have people like that. You have the PLO on the other side, more of, the nationalistic side, more reasonable, I would say. They like Yasser Arafat's people, and they've been kind of talking about, hey, let's coexist. Yasser Arafat wanted that back in the day.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did. And
okay.
he got accused.
Surprised.
He did, and he actually got accused of being a sellout and hated by a lot of Palestinians. Actually, don't like Yasser Arafat because he wanted to have coexistence.
Yeah,
and people realize, like, I'm going to read you a quote from Mus'ab Hassan Yusuf. His father's the founder of Hamas. I mentioned him. He said something. He said, Hamas, for example, they're using civilian lives. They're using children. They're using the suffering of people every day to achieve their goals. And this is what I hate. They're using people's suffrage to make money. It's not exactly about
Sounds familiar, right?
Exactly. So what they're doing is, and it makes sense. Look at these different groups of Palestinian leaders. You have Hamas and all their founders or leaders. They're billionaires and millionaires. And you're like, wow, a country that's suffering. How come your leadership are millionaires? You have people starving. Why are they millionaires? And they're using people's suffrage. If you start looking at the news coverage, and I put that on multiple times on my social media, they specifically use kids on front lines. So when a kid gets killed, they can use that images to raise more money and to kind of get public support. But the question that nobody asks, why the fuck is this child on the border throwing rocks at an Israeli soldier? Why is this child on the front lines in the beginning? You wouldn't send your child to the front lines.
Yeah.
So why is that child in the front lines? Why isn't he sitting in school?
Yeah.
And they keep, there's a lot of, I say propaganda from the Palestinian side. They've been successful in infiltrating the American media and taking that sympathy from the Democrat side.
Yeah, and this is what I want to talk about because it's really effective still till now.
It is
bullshit because I am one of the people standing against care. I thought they were for us. They're not.
No.
I see what they're doing.
No, they're using
Very
American media
pro-Palestinian
without even
rhetoric.
thinking about it, without even thinking about why you're supporting certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing is for which I have trouble with. Okay, I'm neither side. I'm independent. But when you have Democrats standing and saying they support Hamas, basically they're the equivalent of Al Qaeda. They are fighting and killing people in the name of Islam. They want to enforce Sharia law on everybody. And I'm talking about Sharia law like Afghanistan style. And they believe in killing Jews because they're Jewish, not because of anything with Israel. They want to kill all Jews, even the guy living in New York. And you have very anti-gay, by the way, racist as fuck.
I was going to jump at that because I had a gay guy attack me about my theory. And I was like, this is interesting. You're from the LGBT. And he's like, yeah. I was like, do you know if you went right now to any of these Hamas people, they'll fucking stone you to death?
Exactly.
You stupid fuck.
But yet you're supporting this organization. Why would you stand with an organization that stands for everything against what you believe in? They're basically anti-woman, anti-gay, racist as fuck towards everybody, and they want to enforce their religious fanatic beliefs and kill in that name. But yet you have Democrats supporting them. You have MSNBC cheering on Hamas and saying, yes, they're representative of the Palestinian people. They keep taking all these pictures from Al Jazeera and recycling it of kids. Oh, poor child got killed. Well, why don't we show 10 minutes prior to that what the child was doing? He was riding a Hamas truck with an AK-47 going towards the border. So yes, what do you expect him to what do you expect the child happen? The Israeli soldiers are not going to be Dr. Phil and be like, let's talk about why you have an AK-47.
Well, you're going to blow yourself in front of me. Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's, bring you a psychologist. No, it's a war. You shoot at somebody, you get shot back. It happens in Iraq. Al-Qaeda used kids. Happens in Africa with the African the kid soldiers.
Yes.
So it happens all over. Somalia happens. But nobody says, hey, why is kids getting killed? They're soldiers and they get treated as such. The only people that do that is Hamas, and they keep repeating all their kids. Yep. Yes, I understand their kids, but why they were there in the first place?
See, to me, it became personal right now, real personal to me. If you notice, Armadan, this is really what fired us to do this podcast right now and get that fire back. When the peace treaty have been announced and Al-Emirat, represented by Hamas and Bahrain, with Netanyahu, signed it, have you noticed the Democrats go hush? And of course, the speaker, Nancy Pelosi, goes, this, what did she say? This is President Trump doing all these peace deals now as a distraction or something?
Distraction.
I was like, how is it? I mean, the timing of it, how is that a distraction? You should be happy for the biggest peace. How is it a distraction?
Distraction or not, every single fucking president in this country tried to do a peace treaty.
And failed.
Yes. Including Bush, including Trump, including Obama, including Democrat and Republican.
Yeah.
They all failed.
Yep.
And you have a president that's succeeding in doing that. I don't give a fuck if he's Republican or Democrat. I don't care if he's orange, black, white, or brown. What I do give a fuck about is he is actually making peace in a region that's been in conflict for 70 years. Why are we mad about that?
Yeah.
Why do we have a problem with that? Doesn't matter. He could be the worst person on earth, but if he's actually achieving peace in a region, shouldn't we celebrate that part? We can still say he's a bad person in other aspects, but why shouldn't we celebrate his success in that aspect? We should. But the Democrats don't want to give him credit at all. The media doesn't want to cover how important it is to have countries like Bahrain and Emirates open relationships with Israel. Basically, they're doing it as the footsteps. I'm sure other countries, Saudi Arabia and Iraq, are going to follow very soon. Iraq people of
Saudi is the driving force, but a lot of people don't understand. It is a big country, and MBS has his hands full with cleaning it. I mean, come on, man. Look what the dude have accomplished. By the way, in the Democrats, they're calling him a killer because he got rid of that piece of shit Khashoggi, by the way. And Kamala Harris, or whatever her name is, comes up and she said that we took bribes to let that guy get away. I was like, do you understand Khashoggi? Who is he? Of course, they had to play the whole game. He's an American citizen, blah, blah, blah.
He's not even a citizen, by the way.
Oh, he's not?
He's a green card holder.
Okay,
he's not a citizen.
All right, we have to fight for our own, by the way. Now they care.
No, exactly. Second of all, which kind of blows my mind. Democrats are willing to defend a terrorist if it means saying fuck you to the Republicans. That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
They're basically, that guy was a terrorist. His family sells weapons. They're very connected to Bin Laden. Bin Laden has close ties with them.
We all know the Khashoggi family
it's
are
very
the biggest
known.
black market weapon dealers.
But that's been known for 30, 40 years now. That's nothing new.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a known terrorist gets killed, a weapon dealer, and the Democrats are like, oh no, he was a great guy. You're going to defend Bin Laden next? So if Bin Laden was killed by Trump, they would have defended Bin Laden. They would have been like, no, he was a great man. He was a religious man.
We were happy when Obama did it.
Exactly. Exactly.
We cheer.
I would celebrate. It doesn't matter who it is.
Thank you, President Obama, for doing it. Get that son of a bitch out.
Exactly. So what they keep standing against peace just because they don't like Trump.
Yep.
And they do that in a lot of policies. Like they've been shutting down with Corona, and we talked about this. They've been shutting down cities literally just to say fuck you to Trump and kind of make him look like a failure.
I mean, just look at it, even though we want to save it for a different podcast, but let's speak numbers and facts. What are the states now that are suffering?
Exactly. They're all Democrats.
The city and states are run by a liberal Democrat official.
Exactly.
And this is why when people's like, what the hell is wrong with your tone? I am speaking of numbers. I am speaking of facts. This is not conspiracy theory. It's not. Why you guys are doing this? Look at California.
Exactly. A lot of businesses moving to Texas.
And this asshole Newsom or whatever the fuck he is, it's funny. He shut down all the wineries, but not his. No. And then did you see about the mansion that he's gifted by the Chinese?
Yeah.
Suddenly the Chinese are good. And here's another thing to these hypocrites. So I was mad when I found out, and I boycotted after I paid almost $40 for this shit movie Mulan. And then I found out Disney gave thanks, and you know where they filmed it? They filmed it in the exact city where they're killing all the Muslims in China.
Exactly.
But suddenly there's no, the liberals didn't get triggered. They all watched Mulan. They're all for peace and that, but nobody stood against that, right?
No, exactly.
You are not standing against China for what they're doing to the Muslims. By the way, they're killing even African Muslims there. People think there's no Africans there. I was like, yes, there is.
No, there is.
So isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
But no, of course, fuck it. Let's go stand by the wrong. And because the president did this, so we're going to go against it. Because he hates China, so no, China's better.
No, exactly. But I think in terms of implications to the world, in terms of why the peace is important. First of all, it's not really just about war.
Oh, no.
But you have Israel is a very advanced country in terms of their innovation and their entrepreneurship. They're leader in developing even weapons for the U.S. military, medical equipment. They're the number one in medical research, cancer research, a lot of disease control, and just innovation in general. And then you have other countries, the Gulf region essentially, very rich, very has a lot of oil, has a lot of also innovation.
Yeah.
So now, and they're neighbors.
Yes.
Now a peace treaty between Emirates, a country that's rich and wants to be the number one and always be a step ahead, and Israel that wants to do the same thing, is going to only lead to a better world.
Yeah.
Not only for the region, but for the world, because now they can spend more money to give to researchers to develop more things and possibly find cures to diseases or technology that helps the world. It's not only going to help Israel and Emirates, but when Emirates has the money and Israel has the brain, they can work together to develop and bring new things to the world.
Think about the peace that's going to happen now. When Saudi Arabia, remember when MBS made it official that anybody's not standing by Iraq, you're not going to get our stand by you? Iraq is bleeding. Ever since the stupid war that America committed in there and took out Saddam, look at the bleeding that's happening. But this is a good thing now with Israel and all that. And if the focus of peace to rebuild, this is going to be an amazing thing. The innovations are going to come from down there.
Exactly. And it's going to be a focus of even the people.
Yes.
For too long, people have been propaganda, like in Iraq under Saddam. There was Jaysh al-Qudus, the army of Jerusalem.
Oh, God,
and training to this and that. And all this propaganda in the country to prep to fight the Israelis. Now that propaganda is gone, people can actually fucking focus on building their own country.
Yeah.
People can focus on doing all these things. By the way, here's the funny thing, by the way. A lot of Palestinians celebrate Saddam shot 39 rockets against Israel. You know how many people died in these 39 rockets? 3. No, I'm not joking. This is actual statistics. One person died out of a heart attack from the sirens. She was old. One person got hit by a car running to shelter. And the third person actually got hit with shrapnel. 3 people out of 39 rockets. So I would be embarrassed to say these numbers. If they shot 39 bullets, more people will get killed. And Palestinians want to continue celebrating that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do you want to celebrate the death of innocent people? You're shooting rockets into Israel. You're not shooting into military bases.
Speaking of fanatics, I'm going to read to you a DM I had in my Instagram from this asshole. So I made a video, and you saw it, when I said, I am beyond pissed and the Democratic Party will never, ever get my soul. And I made that announcement.
Yeah.
Because I seen how they stood against this peace treaty. I do not care about your inside politics. We know you all, both sides are shit and playing games. But the Middle East is dear to me. This is my homeland. This is my blood. And I am not like these turncoats. I will stand against my own. And remember how me and you talked about when shit hit the fan, who is there for you?
Exactly.
It's your own fucking people. And when I saw how the Democrats turned their backs, first of all, how they did this, And then what they did now with this whole peace treaty. So I said, this dude goes on, and I'm going to read a sample. I can't believe this garbage that you're spewing on us. I've been a fan of yours, and I'm not anymore. You are siding with a fascist Nazi. I don't know where did I say I'm with Nazis or fascism, by the way. This asshole doesn't know that my grandma's Jew.
By the way, fascism and Nazism are two different things. They were at war.
But you know, these idiots.
Italian fascism went to war against the German Nazis, by the way. They're not even the same shit. Just FYI, Americans are retarded in that aspect.
Yeah, you know, Omar, you're the intellectual. You have to fix these issues for them. I'm just reading what this retard is saying to me. Did I say the wrong word? Retard.
Trigger warning.
I hope somebody gets a stroke out of this. But anyway, this guy goes on, and man, I got blabber. So here's one, is like, I hope that you'll eat your words and eat shit. How do I eat my words and eat shit? So I don't know how you can put these two words together. The dude went like 3 pages long going off and explaining to me how Trump is wrong. Now, all I said is, I am upset at the Democratic Party, and I congratulate the president and everybody else for doing the best thing out of there for us. And here's the thing. And then he talks about oppression. Ladies and gentlemen, to every fan out there, and I'm just going to tell you, you fucking Americans don't know what is oppression.
No. Try living under Saddam Hussein. No, Bashar al-Assad. I lived in these countries.
Yeah.
And talk about oppression. No, but here's the thing. American media, Americans in general are not educated about world issues. Generally speaking, the media is not really covering the news in the Middle East, which has great impact even on the United States and economy of the United States. And third, they don't exactly care. As long as it's the other opposite political party, they will stand against it, even if it's great things. If Trump cured cancer, they would have problem with curing cancer. They'd be like, no, we need it for, population control. We have to have people die. So it's really standing against something just because you don't like the person, which is really crappy mentality.
Yeah, it is very crappy mentality.
Yeah. And here's the thing. A lot of people have came out against these peace treaties. A lot of Palestinians have been offended. And honestly,
and they live here.
Yeah, and they live here.
And they're racist as shit, man, against their own here.
Here's the trigger warning, okay? Palestinians, you might want to not listen. You might get offended. But here's the thing. A lot of these people who are coming against this peace treaty are ignorant about their own cause, ignorant about their own issue. What's the solution? I asked Palestinians, what's the solution? You don't want a two-state solution. You don't want to build a country. So you want to continue basically begging for money from countries.
This is what happened. Did you see the trap MBS did to them?
Yeah.
So it freaked the hell out of everybody. I'm sorry to cut you off, but so he offered them, this is how Saudi Arabia figured out and stopped, because Saudi Arabia get billions and billions in dollars, not real, in dollars to support Palestine. So he said, all right, we have a deal. We got you a piece of land in Egypt. Saudi Arabia will cover you until you get a sovereign government of your own and move your people there.
Yes.
They rejected it. Mm-hmm. So they're fighting about this little spot here.
Yes.
They said, you guys don't want peace. You don't want to live. We're not supporting.
Here's the thing. Peace does not pay the bills. Conflict does. When you continue saying we need money, give us money because we're fighting the Israelis, give us money because we're doing this, you continue basically milking the cow.
Yes.
I keep mentioning this guy, Mus'ab, because I'm a big fan of him. He's Palestinian who came out and kind of exposed Hamas. He has a book, by the way. I don't know if you read it.
No, I don't.
I'll link it. I'll give you
a book when you put it in the post as well. Yeah.
Great book to read, by the way. But he said something. He said, even if Palestinians actually achieve peace, theoretically speaking, all the Jews go jump in the fucking Red Sea and kill themselves. And now they just hand everything to the Palestinians. Well, Palestinians are going to still continue to fight because you have the PLO, who's socialist, and you have Hamas, which is religious, who's going to be the leader. Mm-hmm. And then once side takes over, if Hamas takes over, they're going to continue fighting on who's not wearing hijab and who's not, woman can't stand outside in the street and breathe air without her husband. Yeah. And they're going to doing this fanatic shit, and they're going to be killing Sunnis and Shiites, and they're going to continue fighting.
Yeah.
So really, they don't want peace. They want to fight. And think about it, which made really good sense. He said his dad is a warlord. He's known nothing in his life except to be a warlord.
Yep.
He's a military general, essentially. Why the fuck would a military general want to retire? Peace means you go sit at home and be irrelevant. Yeah. And in times of peace, generals are basically just nothing but they look good in TV shows.
And talk about war.
Exactly. Stories. But they're significant and important, and people look up to them and respect them during a war. Right? Now we don't hear about General Petraeus. We don't hear about a lot of American generals, for example. Yeah. Why? We're not at war. In terms of war, you hear them and there's a lot of highlight on them. So if you're a general, it's your best interest to continue to be at war. Otherwise, you're not going to make money and you're going to sit at home with no authority. Right now, the Hamas Hamas has authority because they're warlords and they're running the war essentially.
Yeah.
But if there's peace, what are they going to do? They have no career. They have no job.
They feel irrelevant.
But they have never had education or career to begin with. That's all they've done. So they'll be like, what am I supposed to go push carts at Walmart? Like, what am I going to do now? So they have to continue basically having a conflict to continue milking it. And here's the thing which I have a problem with in terms of Palestinians. First of all, the Quran mentions, in terms of Quran, I'm not religious at all, but the Quran itself mentions Israel dozens of times, doesn't even mention the word Palestine at all.
No, it never existed.
In terms of Arabic history, Babylon was built by Jewish slaves, by the way.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar took the Jewish slaves and walked them to Babylon to build the Babylon. So you're telling me that there was actual Jews there. Prophet Muhammad mentions the Jewish tribes and actually had conflict with them.
They protected them against the Arabs that went after him.
Exactly.
When he left the Hijrah from Mecca.
Exactly. So you have a lot of tribes. You have mentions. So it continues to mention. There's multiple phrases in the Quran.
And even it says in the Quran, and I think this will get these guys explode again, but when they say they are the chosen one, Sha'bullah al-Mukhtar.
Exactly.
They are. It's written in Arabic in the Quran.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I say to Palestinians, well, so now that we established that the Jews were living there for hundreds of years, any other country in the Middle East, any other country, pick up Kuwait, you can have, small country, but you can have family trees that goes back 2,000 years.
Yeah.
That means they can show and prove that they live there and do that. And the Jews, by the way, do that too. The Jews has tribes and they can go back 2,000 years. But I have yet to find a Palestinian that can go more than 100 years backwards and prove that they live there. Because Palestinians, in my theory, are actually, they never fucking lived there. Palestinians are basically people that came from different countries like Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt, and all these countries that migrated to Israel for work opportunities or farming or whatever and lived there. So they lived there for 200-300 years and then the Israeli conflict happened. But really, did they live there before that? No, because why? Otherwise, why can't they show us and say, here's my family tree, it goes backwards 200 years.
Yeah.
You can show us three generations. I have my family tree and I can go back, all the way to 2,000 years ago. So why can't a Palestinian do the same? It kind of defeats the theory that this was their original land. When the Quran is mentioning it, the Bible is mentioning it, the Torah is mentioning, the Old Testament is mentioning it, and all three religions are mentioning it. And then you have historicals mentioning it. You have historical significance of wars and different conflicts that mentions the Jews. And the word Beni Israel is mentioned hundreds of times, but Palestinians is not. Yeah. So really, Palestinian never existed. And second of all, in terms of modern history, when the British decided to draw the borders, there was never mention of the word Palestine. So Palestine never existed as a country. There was never a formal recognition of the country Palestine. Yeah. So there was never. And Palestinian, by the way, is still not recognized in the UN. They have a chair in the UN, but they're an observer, which they have.
I never knew that.
I love it because my dad used to go to the UN. Yeah. And basically the Palestinians have as much right in the UN as CNN in the UN. They're basically an observer. They have no right to talk. They basically, the only time they talk is if another country allows them to use their time. So a lot of times Iraq will be like, hey, we'll dedicate our time for Palestinians to speak, but they don't even have the right to speak, which is good because they don't. The people in the UN are from the PLO. They don't even represent the Palestinian people in Gaza because Hamas represents them. So you have people.
Yeah, they got represented by Hamas. I mean, yeah, they made their own government, didn't they?
They made their own government. Yeah. So you have a division government.
That's why I wonder why there's whatever. I mean, did they call Yasser Arafat as a president or just a movement? Where was he?
No, I mean, the guy is dead and there's still people are hating on him. There's still people talking shit about him and don't like him. I've had Palestinians in Kansas City that said Yasser Arafat is a piece of shit. Why?
Wow.
Oh, because you wanted a peace treaty. Well, what do you want? You have a problem with peace? You have problem with coexistence? Yeah. Shouldn't your solution as people, like, here's the thing. If any other country in the world, if you right now in Kansas City, our kids are getting killed every single day in a conflict, we would want to stop the killing and find a middle ground. That's common sense. Well, the Palestinians don't want to find middle ground. Mm-hmm. They've been in conflict for 70 years and now they have a problem with actual peace coming through. Yeah. Why would you oppose peace? Like, what kind of asshole do you have to be to oppose peace? Yeah. Like, really, what kind of asshole do you have to be? And I mean, a lot of Palestinians don't want peace because, again, it goes against their personal interest.
It just keeps their, like they say, this is the hashtag, Laysa Qadiyati. Yeah, we're saying this is not anymore our case with this crap. And by the way, I know I'm not switching the subject. You are aware we're going to have another fatwa against us to kill us.
No, exactly.
Because it already started when we had Samuel on the show. And here's what's funny, ladies and gentlemen. You understand fatwa, they get their one of, what is it, their religious honcho and declare that these people should be killed for the name of the religion. So when the peace treaty have been announced, they put anybody like Emirates, Saudi, Bahrain, all these countries now they have a fatwa to be killed.
Now Emirates are infidels.
So basically, if you kill them, you go to heaven.
Yeah, now Emirates are considered infidels, by the way.
Infidels, yeah.
No, and I get. By the way, I don't think I've gone 1 month without getting messages on. I showed you earlier.
Yeah,
on social media that says you're not Arab.
Yep.
You're the Uncle Tom of Arabs because you believe in peace treaty between two countries, by the way.
Yeah.
You don't represent us. I never said I represent anybody, so I don't know why I represent that. Or get death threats. Like a couple weeks ago, I got a threat. I'll show up to your house and kill you and kill your family and kill your dog.
Oh, I remember that one.
And I was like, okay, cool.
And then he claimed he's the first Palestinian MMA fighter.
And I was like,
I never heard of this idiot.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, I bet I'll be on my front porch smoking hookah waiting for you. And he never showed up. So a lot of Palestinians apparently want me dead because they think that. I also got accused of working for the Mossad. We work for Mossad, apparently.
Well, you should see how I triggered him because I teach Krav Maga.
Yeah, and I got told that me and you work for the Mossad and where Israel pays our bills.
They're going to hate us next year when we're going to go visit Israel.
Exactly. By the way, I want to call the Israeli government. They haven't sent me a check for all this work we've been doing.
I know.
We get accused of being spies, but I haven't even got a fucking dollar.
Somebody needs to go talk to Netanyahu.
Exactly.
He's like holding off on us.
If we're spies, then why aren't we getting paid?
We've been doing for a couple of years a good popular message here, and nobody's paid us for it, for fuck's sake.
No, exactly.
For me, business-wise, I'm excited we did this piece because I wanted to go overseas and start teaching, the art that I do and I love. And by the way, Krav Maga is a Middle Eastern martial art for us.
It is,
now, finally, at least we can recognize it because every time when we do it, they're like, oh, like my relative, my cousin that got my DVD was so happy. He's like, I'm so glad you released it now. I was like, why? He's like, I can't even talk about it back in the day. Now I'm like popular telling people this is my cousin. He's teaching this shit.
Exactly.
It's like an under the hood shit.
but by the way, just to kind of mention to our listeners, like the American politicians, hypocrites. They're hypocrites here.
Oh yeah, they're very hypocrites.
Our politicians are too. Turkey, for example, came out and decided that they're going to cut relationships with Emirates, and Emirates is a piece of shit for having relationships with Israel. Except Turkey has actually peace treaty with Israel like 20 years ago. So they're mad at Emirates doing it, but they
have the embassy there?
They have an embassy. They have open relationships. So I'm like, you're basically telling somebody that you're mad at them for doing something you've done 20 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of Jordanians on my Instagram now have been getting triggered about the peace treaty and me saying this. But Jordan had peace treaty with Israel for the last 20 years. So why are you mad that the Gulf is catching on and actually moving in the right direction? It doesn't make sense. It's hypocrite.
It's hypocrite. It's hypocrite. I mean, like I said, we can go on and on, but the bullet points of this, and we're going to start, we're not doing a long one here today, but we're doing this as a celebration. This is a beginning. This is a great celebration for us. And we just shot the bullet points of it. But here are what you guys, ladies and gentlemen, should take out of this. First of all, again, I don't need to explain myself, but when people now wondering, because now they're like, I think we're being labeled something, the Arab Americans, because of our stance against the Democrats for some reason. I'm reading all this blabber on social media, how we are, and we're turncoats, and we've never been born into a party. So I don't know, because we came from countries we had no parties. We had a ruler. And we came here as immigrants, and we practice our freedom. And you just can't come and assume and put us and lump us around that. We hate weakness, so we're not part of this shit.
No, and it's racist, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
It's racist to assume that entire population of people that come from different backgrounds, different countries, speak different languages, are all going to vote and think in the same exact way. We're not sheep. Yeah, so why are you assume that just because I'm Arab, I have to vote Democrat 100% of the time? Well, not all Arabs are the same. There's Christians, there's Muslims, there's other religions. There's atheists. Yeah. There's all different backgrounds. There's different languages. You assume all of us are going to come to America and vote Democrat. Why? That's racist as fuck. We have an identity and we have our own thinking and we can make our mind about shit and we don't need you to.
Well, remember 3.5 years ago when President Trump won and somebody said, I want to apologize to all our Arab Americans, and they come and talking to us. It's like, what's going on with you people?
Yeah.
What did we do? Why are you coming saying sorry to us that we let you down? I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have any issue. We're just watching here and we're just practicing our own. But as we say, just going about this is really a great deal. And we're really happy and looking forward to this. This is just going to be an amazing, amazing beginning for this. I mean, God, how long these wars been going and this hatred? I remember it was so dumb. Remember growing up, like anything happens wrong to, let's say, technology or something, they just blame the Israelis. It's like a weird conspiracy theorist was going on among the Arab communities. How they blame Israel for everything.
No, exactly. And by the way, the significance of the peace treaty, for example, in Emirates had blocked websites from Israel and phone lines. And so did the Israelis. They blocked websites from Emirates.
Now it opens up.
Now companies from Emirates can communicate with Israeli companies to buy and share and trade. So now you're opening trade between really rich countries and Israel, very advanced country. And that is going to significantly change the Middle East role in that direction. And by the way, a lot of people are blaming Emirates, which they don't understand. Part of the deal was basically telling the Israelis that we recognize you and we'll start making peace treaties. And in return, you do not take any more land and build on it for settlers. So you stay on your current border to halt development of movement of Israeli land, which actually is good in favor of the Palestinians.
Yeah.
So telling basically Israel, hey, you should stop taking any more land and stay in your border, and we will work on a peace treaty to build a two-country solution while we're actually opening trade is significantly good for the Palestinians. But of course, they're not going to recognize that.
Yeah, my only fear, and I don't want to be the negative, is those assholes on the side that lurking to fuck this up. Because now security has to be very up for the Israeli citizens and the Gulf citizens. Yes. Because when they visit each other, there's going to be a little bit of dirty games. I mean, it's not going to be, as we say in Arabic, Lebanon asal, like honey and like it's going to be this easy. No, it's really going to be a transition because of these cells we got still running around. Because do understand now, as many people think they're focused here, no, the shift of terrorism now is going back home.
No, exactly.
It's going back. It's not going to be, they're not focused on the West anymore. And also, now this is the war is going to be brought back to
By the way, the significance of this deal is essentially, not officially, but essentially, Israel and Emirates and the rest of the Gulf is entering a deal together to stand against Iran.
Yeah, this
is basically saying, hey, we're going to hold hands together, and we're going to up our security.
They're the hub of terrorism.
And exactly, we're going to stand up against it, and that's significant because now you're taking the biggest terroristic country in the world, Iran, out of the equation by standing together as one united Arab front with the Israelis.
By the way, speaking of oppression, and sorry because you just mentioned Iran, to tell these assholes that are living here and complaining about oppression, did you see the Irani fighter wrestler that got executed?
Exactly.
Because he did a peaceful protest. By the way, this is what oppression looks like, you jackasses. They're sitting around here screaming and burning down buildings and acting like you're oppressed. But yet, I didn't hear them go against Iran. Have you noticed?
No,
the media didn't. They just made a post about it and they went silent. I was like, really? That doesn't bother you? We're all enraged and angry about this.
No, exactly. The October revolution that started in Iraq, by the way, to overthrow the government, the religious government, not even a single mention from Democrats in favor of it. The only person that actually mentioned it is Trump, and he indirectly said he gives them the green light to do what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And in terms of oppression, these protesters not only got shot and killed during the protests, their pictures were taken by security cameras, and they were going to their house in the middle of the night, dragging them out of bed and killing them outside their houses. So not only are you getting fucked in the protest, even if you walk away safe, they're going to come to your house and take you out. Yeah. But in terms of going back to this peace treaty, I think it opens new potentials for businesses, for development, for relationships, and also counters the Iranian oppression in the region.
Terrorists now are going to act because they know their time is ticking.
Exactly.
Israel is one of the top when it comes to combat terrorism.
Exactly, combating terrorism. And honestly, by the way, for our listeners, there's a significant difference between Iranians and Persians.
Yes, please. Yeah, please. Let's make this clear. Yeah,
I'm very anti-Iran. Anti-Iran means against the Iranian government. Yep. But as people who are Persian, we have no problem with you at all. And we've actually, a lot of Persians are wanting the change in the government and have
my mother's family
have a solution.
My mother's family. I come from Al-Ashraf. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how to explain this to the people here, but it's a different thing. She's Alawi, her last name.
Yeah.
And were a lot of our guests when they come for the pilgrimage for the Holy Mosque in Mecca were Persians. Yeah. And I remember seeing them as kids coming in, and they bring the carpets and all that. And those Persians they have a great life, but they were under the Ayatollah. Yeah. And we've always been good with this family. I mean, it's just like this country, my family in this country. So yeah, it's not we're anti-Persians, man.
No, Persians are awesome people.
No, but Iran is run very terribly, man, with these people. We want them out. We want them out of that region. They're the threat in that region.
Oh, exactly. Iran has been spreading their. By the way, people don't understand something about Iran, and I know we're shifting here. It's the Islamic Republic in Iran, not of Iran.
Yeah.
And that's significantly important because Iran does not believe in the Islamic Republic just being in Iran. It says we're going to be all over the world. So they actually want to spread their version of Islam all over the world. Mm-hmm. And that's why they basically named the country the Islamic Republic in Iran. That way it can be the Islamic Republic in Saudi Arabia, the Islamic Republic in America, the Islamic Republic in China. That's their goal. Mm. Other countries like Iraq is the Republic of Iraq, not in Iraq, because it's the defiance. But Iranians have actually made that since the 70s, made it very clear that their mission is global expansion. And they've done it. They've expanded to Lebanon and Hezbollah. They expanded to Iraq and the Iranian militias in Iraq. And they've been expanding slowly. And now this peace treaty is basically putting an end to it because countries are holding hands together and saying, we will stand with the Israelis to fight you. And it's significant. And by the way, there's the Israelis have done more for the Palestinians than the Palestinian government has done for the Palestinians.
Yeah, man. I mean, when it comes to even when they shoot them in all the fights they have, they go help them, take them to their hospitals.
Yasser Arafat was treated in Israelis' hospitals. Yes. Sheikh Hassan Yusuf, founder of Hamas, who stands there and says, "I want the destruction of Israel," got treated in Israel multiple times. And honestly, I don't know if I can be a doctor treating a terrorist.
I gotta give it to the Israelis. I gotta tell you, us Arabs were petty sons of bitches. I would have killed that son of a bitch.
I would have killed him in his sleep. I would be like, you literally bombed me the day before, and you're here in the hospital asking me for help.
They get my respect, man. I was like, I don't know how they can do it.
They even helped the Syrians, by the way. The Syrian, when the revolution started, they start helping a lot of the Syrian refugees with aid. They help a lot of
the media
countries.
never covers that. Nothing in the United States gets covered by that. That's why I said to people, I was like, as much as like, oh, there are friends. The United States is no more friends with anyone. By the way, you're all sitting here. You guys think this virus is a coincidence anymore? No. Why the whole world shut down on you?
You know what the dumbest thing I hear? America say, well, we give aid to Israel.
Huh?
They say Americans give aid to Israel, and that's a problem. And I'm like, okay, cool. But you know who also gets aid? Pakistan, Afghanistan, 90% of the countries in the world. Yeah, Germany gets aid. It's military aid. Basically, it's money that basically gets granted for these countries to buy your weapons. Exactly. So it's really not, you're not giving them shit. You're basically encouraging them to buy American goods at a discount. Yep. So that's what it is. Iraq got an aid to buy American weapons at a discount. They give them $3 billion. They end up buying $9 billion worth of shit. So basically you're giving them $3 billion discount. They're never actually taking the money. It's just giving them a coupon for $3 billion to spend it on American goods.
Man, we can go on and on about this. These people are so clueless. They just fed with them. I mean, they're already busy with their whole, masks and all that right now.
No, exactly. But I think a call for action, I would say for the Americans, educate yourself about the conflict. Read Mus'ab Hassan's book. He's very involved in the Hamas thing. Yeah. And don't listen to your media and make it a black and white issue. Do your
research, man. It's so easy to do research now.
No, exactly.
Holy shit.
Don't make it a black and white issue. If Nancy Pelosi does something awesome, I would say Nancy Pelosi did something awesome.
And this is how we believe things.
Exactly. If Trump did something awesome, I would say thank you. He did something great. If, I don't know, Obama does something good, we encourage it and we clap and say thank you. Don't make it black and white. Be like, Republicans are assholes. So anything they do, they make world peace.
No, they're racist, fascist, and Nazis too, by the way.
Exactly, which is contradicting. So do your own research and don't stand against something just because of the political affiliation that
Stop being a sheep. Look what it did to us Arabs.
Exactly. And now we're
changing. Fighting. We had no option. We had an iron fist. You guys don't have an iron fist in this country.
No, exactly.
You have free will, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Do your research. You have access to information. You don't live in countries with oppression. If you lived in Iraq under Saddam Hussein,
I would understand.
There was no internet, and there was 2 TV channels.
Yep.
2, and they're both run by the state. Talk about propaganda. One is run by Saddam, and one is run by Saddam.
In Saudi Arabia when I was growing up, man.
So that's oppression. Now you have 50,000 channels and all this access to information, but people have less information in their mind than people living in Somalia with 1 channel, which doesn't make sense. You have access to more information, so you should be more educated.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming back more and more now. I know we promised a lot, but we got we had a tyrant on our ass for a little minute here, but we'll talk about that the next one. But if anybody out there can help us, and we're reaching out, we've been trying to reach our local officials to come on here and talk about it. We need recognition, and it's not like we're sitting here, we're an oppressed minority with that, but we're standing up. Me and Omar is like speaking about the Arab community in here, what we do, what we bring. But it seems now we're not the center of attention. I think maybe they want something to happen for them to pay attention to us. Like we've sent the mayor countless texts to his number that he put out, and he doesn't respond. Emails and he doesn't respond. So I don't know what's going on. But hey, we're trying to get out there the message that we are part of your community. And we are here, and we run things, businesses.
They're doing a miscalculation by the Democratic Party, which is going to contribute significantly to them losing votes. Because Arabs are not really openly protesting or being out loud, they think that we don't have a voice or a vote. But they don't realize
we're against them.
The majority of Arab community votes actually protest in their money.
Yes.
They're business owners who can manipulate their political affiliation based on money, donations, or how they vote or pushing the votes. Like Detroit, they made it very clear we're interested in voting for Trump. They've been donating money to Trump. They're not exactly protesting. They're not organizing protests. They're actually protesting with their money. So the Democrats don't realize that. There's so many Arabs in Kansas City, and Mayor Lucas is ignoring their
he doesn't even care for our existence.
But 90% of the Arabs that I know in the community are business owners.
Yep.
So you're actually... How the fuck are you not listening to business owners in the community that are bringing jobs, creating, wealth in the community and doing well? And you're basically not listening to them? That doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, whatever. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. I'm just, we're going to get some fatwas that are going to kill us again. So as soon as you put that up and you put, the flag like you did the last time, and everybody came and started calling us, want to kill us. So if we didn't make it to the next one, something went off. Thanks. We're here and looking forward for the next one.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you to our sponsors. Nutrithority, no bullshit, high quality supplement. Warrior Culture Gear, custom designed and hand printed apparel, made by and for the modern warrior. Warrior Fuel, Kansas City's best pre-made healthy meal delivery plan. Feed the warrior in you.